All right, so come here real quick. I want to show you something. Basically, that we have some naughty beneficiaries, some recipients getting some money that they weren't supposed to. Let's get into it. This is straight from the Office of Inspector General. A little bit of a hot sheet here. Fort Walton Beach woman pleads guilty to $200,000 of theft of government benefits. Now remember, $200,000 of SSI benefits is a lot of months of benefits, okay? All right, Pensacola, Rhonda Lynn Lopez, 59. So, she was up there. She knew better. Fort Walton Beach, Florida, pled guilty in federal court to theft of government property. The plea was announced by John P. Heekin, United States Attorney for the Northern District of Florida. One of our very own, one of our good friends, a Floridian. United States Attorney Heekin said, by falsely claiming benefits she knew she had no right to receive, the defendant stole resources that were intended for those truly in need. Because, remember, we're talking about Social Security benefits. It's this problem. All right. I appreciate the hard work of our law enforcement partners to identify, investigate, and stop this criminal. And I want to make clear that my office will continue to aggressively prosecute anyone who defrauds the government. Here's the kicker. Court documents reflect that Lopez provided false information to the Social Security Administration during her benefit reviews. So in other words, she went through CDRs, she lied to them, they caught her, now they're going to punish her. Based on this information learned during the investigation regarding her assets and finances, the SSA determined Lopez was not entitled to supplemental security income payments beginning on or about May 28th, 1998. As a result, she stole more than $206,000 from the United States government. So imagine that. Just imagine that for a moment. So you'd have to lie over and over and over again on those CDR applications. She's stealing SSI benefits, which is like the poverty program. Now, I know more facts about this case than I'm allowed to share with you because I looked it up inside Pacer and I looked up some of the documents in there. So I can't, and it's sealed from what I saw. I saw how they sealed it. So I saw how they unsealed some stuff. But the bottom line is I'm going to stick to what they released. But bottom line is she was stealing supplemental security income, which is money that comes from the general taxes. And to be fair, sorry, I had a cookie before this. To be fair, she did it since 1998. Oh my God. Imagine, and then think about that. She was able to snooker the SSA since 1998. That's decades. I mean, that's like, that's almost 3 decades. To me, that's amazing. That's amazing. Lopez faces up to 10 years imprisonment, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000, which she would never be able to pay anyways. Princess Diana, thank you for the $2 donation. I super appreciate it. Let me go ahead and put a heart on that. That's awesome. Hey, I really need to talk to you badly, please. Okay, well, just try and give me a call tomorrow, but I keep in mind it's Sunday, so I'm going to be working outside. The plea was the result of an investigation by the Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General. The case was prosecuted by Assistant United States Attorney Jeffrey M. Tharp. The United States, sorry, that cookie's trying to murder me. The United States Attorney Office for the Northern District of Florida is one of 94 offices that serve as the nation's principal litigators under the direction of the Attorney General. To access the public court documents online, please visit blah, 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 and it just takes you to the Pacer website. I logged into it. I read it, but it's sealed. So I can't give you too much info on this. But what you need to know is that since 1998, they caught somebody who was lying about their abilities and assets that they had. I want to point something out to you guys. Way back in the day, people would get on these benefits and it was like for life. You know what I mean? They'd be on them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and it was for life. And the thing that I just want to point out real quick with this is that it does seem like the government's becoming more aggressive with your phrasing of stuff, like what you write on CDR. When you're like, I can't do anything, they're taking that a lot more directly as a court document statement. So like when they catch you on your boat, And you're like, oh, I'm disabled. Then how are you able to go on a boat? Oh, I'm disabled. Well, then how are you able to go on vacation? And I think I've become, as a result of this cultural change, more picky. And, look, you're always going to run into people who are like, I swear I'm disabled, even though when I claimed I was, beginning to stop to work, I was still doing ultra marathons, or riding horses in Jamaica, or doing like jet ski races, whatever. You know what I mean? There are those people. There quite literally are those people. So I think to some degree, I've kind of gotten to that place where I think the government has realized that a lot of these people need. I don't think the government's going to be as cool with looking the other way, is what I'm saying. There was a time where like guys would like ride their Harley to North Dakota. They would go skiing with their kids. They'd go to their, they'd coach their little kids' baseball team or whatever while on disability benefits. Those days are very quickly closing. Very quickly closing. The people getting on disability benefits going forward, they're not bedbound, but they're like a step below bedbound. And the interesting thing is, like, people will put in the comments and stuff, they'll be like, what do they expect us to be? Like a shut-in? Well, they kind of expect you to be so impaired that you couldn't work. So not necessarily like a shut-in, but like a level down from a shut-in, So I think the culture is I know, Frogman, how do you pull this off for 30 years? I read through the details. I'm not allowed to say what was in them. I read through the court docket details. They are sealed. I enjoyed the read, but I am not allowed to give the information to you at this time. But if you have a Pacer account as an attorney, you might want to go check it out. It's interesting. All right, so yeah, it was technically 1998, so it's not 30 years, but I mean, still, it's almost 3 decades. It's almost 3 decades. But anyway, the point is, I guess what I'm getting at with this whole thing, I just be careful with what you write down, because it might come back to haunt you. And as the government becomes more sophisticated with technology, with surveilling you, this is going to become more and more of a problem for people who were found disabled, maybe back in the day, right? And the culture of SSA benefits have changed a lot. And now what would be considered somebody disabled from 15, 20 years ago, right? Those people, I mean, a lot of those people, there's a huge chunk of them that could, go basically snorkeling. They could ride a Harley, they could go, do anything. They could do all kinds of stuff. They could, go from Maine to California on road trips. They could do all that stuff. The culture today is that a disabled person wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it's just a different system now. You know what I mean? Which is good for a lot of those, like, people who have been found disabled back in the day, because a lot of them, they made it to retirement now. You know what I mean? So they get off of disability. They don't have them looking at them anymore. They don't have the SGA limitation anymore. They have retirement. But for those that are still on it, just remember to cross your T's, dot your I's until you hit that, retirement. Because if you're SSDI, you got to hit 67. If you're SSI, you're going to hit 62. So just a heads up. Again, super thank you to Diana. Make sure you catch up with me. Now, I want to do one additional one, because this is a theme that continuously pops up. And I think it's important that we study it, because a lot of people make a mistake when it comes to this type of fraud in the Social Security system. After this video, we'll do the live where I answer questions for free. But let me walk you through this real quick, okay? Next one, OIG hot sheet. Son of Social Security disability beneficiary pleads guilty to theft of government funds. July 8th, 2025 was the release. Pensacola, again, Florida. It happens. David James Massey, 39, of Pace, Florida, pled guilty in federal court to theft of government funds. The plea was announced by John P. Heekin, same guy as the last claim, United States Attorney for the Northern District of Florida. U.S. Attorney Heekin said Social Security disability benefits provide support for the basic needs of elderly and disabled citizens. But this defendant took those monies to line his own pockets, despite knowing he wasn't entitled to receive them. My office is committed to identifying and prosecuting this financial abuse, returning taxpayer dollars to the American people, and ensuring a just sentence for those who prey on these resources. Okay. Court documents reflect that Massey's mother was a Social Security Administration Title II beneficiary who received her benefits into a joint bank account she shared with her son, Massey. You already know where this is going. Massey's mother died. You already know where this is going. In 2019. But he continued to receive and use her benefits for his own use. From the date of his mother's death in 2019 through August 2023, the SSA deposited over $118,000 into the joint account. Massey knew he was not entitled to the funds and failed to notify the SSA of his mother's death. The question then becomes, where's the mom? What happened to the body? Instead, Massey transferred the benefit payments from the joint account into multiple other accounts wherein he spent the money for his own personal use. Massey faces up to 10 years imprisonment as a result of this action. If Massey is sentenced to a term of imprisonment, such term could be followed by up to a 3-year term of supervised release. Thus, if Massey were to violate any condition of his release, he could potentially face an additional period of incarceration related to violating his supervision. In accordance with his plea agreement, Massey will be required to pay back all funds he lawfully stole from the SSA. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. This case was investigated by the Office of Inspector General, being prosecuted by a United States attorney. Sentencing is scheduled for September 30th, 2025 at 9 a.m. United States Courthouse, Pensacola, before United States District Judge M. Casey Rogers. United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Florida is one of 94 offices that serve as the nation's principal litigators. Here's the deal. If you are getting your parents' Social Security benefits or retirement funds, same joint account, if you are getting those and the parent is not alive anymore, the way they're going to catch you that you can't fake is that they're going to look at how much use has occurred with Medicare. Now, step one. Does the person, the elderly person, pay into Medicare? Part A, Part B, Part whatever. Do they have Medicare Advantage? What do they have? If they don't, that is red flag number one. By the way, I don't do Medicare questions. So if you have Medicare questions, you're wondering about the $14.6 billion, health insurance fraud that's going on right now. If you want to get a tune-up on whether or not you have a good Medicare plan, I have partnered with Chapter. Give them a call. I'm bad at checking with my insurance and getting them to give me a better plan or whatever. I'm always bad at that, but it's a short call. Give them a call, tell them what you have, ask them, do you have something better? Right. You can also use this link. They set me up with a cute little link. askchapter.org/disability. Again, 339-226-6287. So with that said, bottom line is this. If the person does have Medicare and they are elderly and they have deceased, right? Then the next question that they have at that office is, when was the last time that they used their Medicare for medical treatment? Maybe it's medication use, a doctor appointment, a hospital visit, whatever. And if they notice that there's a clear demarcation in time when that elderly person who they don't know may have deceased, may have not, but there's a clear moment in time when that person stopped using their Medicare, that is red flag number 2. Red flag number 3 is when they send out a form saying, hey, can you fill this out about your current status? Are you happy? Are you alive? What's going on? Yada, yada. When that form comes back and it's filled out by their son or daughter or whoever's overseeing them and committing fraud for the deceased elderly person, that's the next red flag. Okay. It's just one of these things where we see a lot. A lot of these. And I get it. Usually the kids are used to the parent like upkeeping them. You know what I mean? And the kid maybe has useful skills, but chooses not to use them, chooses not to get a job. And there's a look, I'm going to be very straightforward with you. Okay. I have seen this time and time and time again. Okay. I've seen this time and time again. You get a parent becomes retired, they support their kid doesn't have a job, doesn't work a job. Not saying they should or they have to, but most people have to work to live, to be able to afford food and housing and stuff. Anyways, point is, parent passes away and the kid is facing a dilemma. That's not really a kid. I mean, we're talking about 40, 50-year-olds here. But anyways, or 30, 40, 50, but the latter 30. The kid is facing dilemma. Do I starve? Right? Or do I get a job? Or do I keep getting paid these retirement checks that we're just used to getting them no matter what happens? So when there's the option of work versus just getting the free money, well, they choose the free money, because who wants to work when you can get free money? That's what happens. All right. Anyways, everybody, we're going to do the next video shortly. With that said, I'm going to answer questions for free about Social Security disability law. Who am I? I'm Attorney Walter Hnot III, the most viewed, subscribed, and clicked on disability attorney in America. So if you want representation, call me during the regular 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. With that said, also, if you want to go ahead and have a big 1 hour, access to my brain to figure out some weird problem you're having with Social Security, that's fine. Mini contract is in the bio below. We're going to go live now. I will catch you all a little bit later, but please remember to like and subscribe. Hit the like button, subscribe, head over to Google, type in disability resolution law firm or disability resolution Florida, throw some stars up there if you want. I'll catch you a little bit later. We'll rock and roll from there. Thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.